As the tumult continues in southern Cameroon, many southern Cameroonian journalists have been arrested and a lot of them have been detained. They are no longer free to attend training workshops. Our reporter George Tando covers the story.
Although the Southern Cameroon's restoration quest was backed off by teachers and lawyers, the journalism corps has also paid a heavy price in brutality, abduction, arbitrary arrest and detention of pressmen of Southern Cameroon's extraction. Since 2016, when the Southern Cameroon's crisis escalated, at least 6 journalists were arrested and thrown into jail. At the time of filing in this report, 3 of them are still locked up under deplorable conditions. They include Akumbum Elvis McCarthy, who was beaten in the wake of the crisis and has been detained at the Bamenda prison since March 20th, 2018. Mancho BBC and Thomas Awa Jr., respectively serving 15 and 11 years jail terms at the hellhole called Koundéni Central Prison in Yaoundé. Some who were released from Koundéni left for exile, while the others have simply resorted to self-censorship amidst fears of arrest and intimidations. McCarthy was arrested and detained for taking pictures of police brutality, while Awa and Mancho were jailed for some trumped-up terrorism charges. Recently in Bafoussam in French Cameroon, a UN-organized workshop on reporting in times of conflict turned sour when 9 Southern Cameroon's journalists were rounded up and detained for a whole night at a police station. One of the journalists told the SCBC that they had earlier been warned by a French Cameroon journalist to avoid conversing in English language few minutes before they were arrested. They would later be released without any reparations or explanations from the said police authorities as to why they were detained after the presentation of their identification and professional badges. On July 13, 2018, in French Cameroon's economic capital Douala, 28 Southern Cameroonian journalists saw a conference organized by a media organization abruptly brought to a halt by the duo for Douala 1, who claimed they had no authorization. SCBC was reliably informed that a declaration was tabled with the competent authorities. The resource person, who came in from the Center for Peace Journalism in the USA, is said to have been embarrassed as his appeal for the workshop to go to its logical end fell on deaf ears. The crisis in southern Cameroon has greatly exposed the various forms of attacks on southern Cameroon's journalists and press freedom as a whole. The muzzling of the press and the journalists goes as far back as 1961, if we are to mention the treatment meted out on veteran Southern Cameroonian journalists like the Bo Herberts, Temfak Ofeges, and Julius Wamis, amongst others. SCBC is adding its voice to all journalism organizations to demand the unconditional release of all journalists in detention. George Tando, SCBC.
In our next story, family members of the Ghanaian pastor that was killed are to drag Paul Biya to court. There are indications that the family members of the Ghanaian pastor that was killed in Batibo by the French Cameroon soldiers are to drag President Paul Biya and his military to the international court. They are asking for the repatriation of the corpse of Apostle Isaac Atto, and our reporter Aisha Ann